So we did self-check-in, got a ticket, and now we're waiting for our boat. Hello, welcome to Ivanna's Norsk life. Having vacation in the end of November, in the middle of the week, would sound to me very strange and almost impossible if I would still work in the university. But now I work in IT company and I can afford for myself to take a vacation when I see it feasible. And this time we actually had a small vacation in the end of November where we took a boat trip to Kiel. That was really fun, and while I'm sharing with you differences in my subjective opinion on work in the IT comparing to the academia, in this video I will try to highlight differences in vacation and how you can take it, differences in salaries, flexibility, and number 4, it's just type of work and type of person that I think will enjoy working either in IT or in academia. So let's try the vlog. That is very interesting. This is our cabin. Hello. And this is our shower. Quite nice. Actually, I like in the hotel room. Having a lunch. I remember for many years when I was working in academia, vacation and the way how you take it was very predefined. So you are very much if you are teaching or you're part of the project, you actually have to take vacation in the time when everyone else is doing that. Usually it was at least 3 weeks or more in July. Even if you don't want to take it in July, you have to do it. And then you could have a bit of vacation, couple of days somewhere in the Easter time, if it doesn't affect your teaching, or after all of the exams that are happening now, somewhere before the Christmas or Christmas time. Even beginning of January, it is already a question mark if you can take it as a vacation in academia, just because if you teach, you have to prepare everything for students and for the year that come. So that's why if you work in academia in connection to the students, if you are teaching or you have some projects in Norway, your vacation will be very much separated, and I remember that actually I was usually taking only 15 days and then 10 days I could move to the next year. This is very much different from my experience working in the IT company, because as you know now, that actually I just recently had a 1 week vacation that was in the end of November, because I saw a possibility and I know that other people want to take vacation in December, so I want to be present in the company. And at the same time, I was actually able to take vacation during summer when it was in August and not July. That was also really cool. I was able to take a vacation, a bit longer one, in April when my mom was visiting me. And this was really cool because I actually used, now it's middle of December, and I have already used all my 25 days allocated to vacation. And it gave me very well distributed pauses that I needed, because I needed to restore my energy. And at the same time, my company was very flexible, and we have rules that we follow, but it gives you much more flexibility in terms how you want to take your vacation. And if you're searching for a job in the IT company, don't forget to ask your probably future employer, or maybe your future employer, about what are the regulations and rules they follow regarding the vacations and schedules and so on. I would recommend you. Salary. Salary probably is one of the most interesting questions to you. I don't know if you know this, but those who live in Norway, they know this very well, that unfortunately salaries in the universities are smaller than salaries in IT companies. So, for instance, when I worked as associate professor in the university, I had much smaller salary than I was working as a data scientist. In both cases, the more experience you have, in both places you will have a raise. But the problem is that in the university, in general, salary levels are much lower. And even if you have increase in salary, it's also much smaller comparing to what you can do in the company, in the IT sector. Especially when we talk about IT sector, we don't talk about anything else. So in the IT sector, it's very popular changing job quite often, because then this is where you can have a huge leap, a huge jump in your salary. Due to my NDA with my company, I cannot tell which salary I have. But the only thing that I can say that yes, that's completely true, that if you are data scientist, data engineer, software engineer, machine learning engineer in IT company in Norway, you will have higher salary than the associate professor or professor has in university. And also in the universities, they have a limit that they cannot go above. And companies, it's only based on your negotiation and economic status of your company. Flexibility. Flexibility, it is a bit tricky question, because it is extremely dependent in which department are you, or like where do you work in the university, and it's extremely dependent on which company are you working in, which rules they follow. From my personal experience, what I feel that in the university with the flexibility comes huge responsibility. And let me explain what I mean. I mean that yes, in some cases you will be flexible to be able to work in the evenings and to go early from your work, like at 3 p.m. But at the same time, if imagine that your task is to write a proposal to get the funding, and then there is a deadline to submit such proposal, and you have this possibility only once or 2 times a year, you actually cannot postpone it, or you are really have to deliver. And then suddenly you are dependent on other people, on other companies. You also do teaching. So you have so many different responsibilities, and you also need to write this proposal if you're associate professor or professor, that it makes that you actually start to working a lot after working hours. So you don't have your evenings, you don't have your free time, you take also your weekends to be able to deliver on time, and then suddenly flexibility backfires at you. Because when someone gives you flexibility of saying, oh, I need to go pick up my kid from the kindergarten, and that's why I need to leave early, and I don't have any teaching to do, so, and I don't have any urgent meetings, right? then you kind of do it. But at the same time, it is expected of you that you work anytime you need to work, but you deliver what you have to deliver. And that's why in my side, I think it's very much flexibility that costs for you because of such deadlines. But again, this is my subjective opinion, and probably some other people from other universities, or maybe they organize their work in a different way, maybe they are more efficient than I was in my previous job. Anything can be, so it's only my subjective opinion, but I think you should know about that. At the same time, when we talk about flexibility in the IT industry or IT company, private company, of course, I can only talk about my company and what we have, and I don't know about other companies and how strict they are. So we are scale up, so we are growing. And what I think, especially COVID, has shown us that flexibility is possible, and we are becoming more and more flexible. In company as well, actually, as in university, you have some predefined time period of the day where people expect you to be reachable. For instance, in my company, we call it kjernetimer. So it's the main hours that everyone is supposed to be accessible. And it is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And outside of that, you kind of can also go and pick up your kids or work a bit later in the evening for some hours. So you also have the same flexibility as you have in the university, but the main difference actually that you don't need to use your weekends. You have completely weekends to yourself. You don't have these special deadlines that you just have to do whatever it takes to deliver. We are doing a lot of things in the teams. We are trying to follow up. We try to understand what is the reasonable deadline and what can we do within the deadlines that we have when we develop software. So my personal feeling that I prefer flexibility from the company that I get, because if I need to stay at home and work from home, I can do that. In the university, if you teach, you need to go to university. If you have some lab thing, you have to go to university. You have to do it in person. It was extremely hard during COVID for the university. It was really hard. Even though we also do a lot of teaching online, still a lot of things should be done in person. While in the company, especially when it's software development, you have much greater flexibility to my personal experience. But again, in different companies, you will have different rules. So if you are in search for a job, you have to check this out. What are the rules there? What are the regulations? And if flexibility is critical to you, please don't forget to interview the employer, the future employer, on the questions that are extremely critical for you. The last point I want to cover on the type of work. In general, I still believe that to say what is better working in the university or IT company, it's not fair, because it's very dependent on which type of person you are. Which tasks do you like to do? Do you like to travel a lot? Then you can find this possibility in many different ways. So that's why I think I shouldn't be the person who says this is better than the other one, but I can show you based on my experience and my knowledge what could be a different types of work that you would do in academia and compare it to the IT company. And maybe this one will give you a hint what is the difference and what is better. So let's start with IT company. What could be your responsibilities? If you're working as a software developer, you're writing a lot of code, tests, and sometimes you have meetings with your colleagues to discuss such things. If you're working as a data scientist, you work a lot with the data, you write SQL, you do data transformations, you do a lot of data analytics. You also need to present your work, and you need to think of what else can be done and give more insights in the data that company has. If you're a machine learning engineer, it means that your tasks will be training machine learning models, identifying metrics for the machine learning model. So how do you compare which model is better? Or how do you know that this model works for your business values than the other one? So it's always when you work in the company, you need to think about business value. What is actually a business value of the things you do? And this should be one of the ways how you understand, should you focus on this a lot or no? Does it bring a business value to the company or no? And you have many people around you in the company to help to see you if it's hard for you, like product owners, team leads, just any colleague that you have, and so on. But when we talk about university, you need to you need to love to write articles, because this is a part of being in the positions or in the roles like PhD, postdoc, researcher, associate professor, you will be writing articles. In most of the cases, you will be writing proposals. If you're in PhD or postdoc or researcher, it can also take like some lab work. You will write some reports. If you are associate professor or professor, you will have to teach. So these parts are very different. As you can see, tasks that you will get in the IT company is completely different from the tasks that you will get in the university. So then it's a question to you, which tasks are more pleasant to you? What do you really enjoy? When you will be waking up in the morning, which type of job will bring you joy? Especially if you think that in the universities you get smaller salary comparing to the IT company, right? And if you like to code, how much possibility you will have at the university? And most likely you will need to create this possibility for yourself, but it will not be 100% job for you. It will always only when you have a bit of time, or when you have some project to register hours on it, and so on. So that's a question to you. Which one do you prefer more? What are your thoughts? How do you, if you have ever experienced to work in the university and now work in the private company, what is your experience? I'm very curious and would love to hear that. So please share in the comments with me. It would be very nice to have such discussion. And what is your opinion? What is better, working in the university or working in the IT company? Thank you for watching until the end, and see you next time. Bye.